the carcass of an animal washed up on the beach at Montauk Point, Long Island. Seagulls, fish, crabs, even the occasional whale, but they had never seen anything like this.
Just off the coast of Long Island lies a place shrouded in secrecy, Plum Island, a government facility so mysterious, it's been linked to some of the darkest conspiracies imaginable. Genetic experiments, bioweapons, and creatures that defy nature itself. Now, with a congressional investigation underway, we begin to learn what atrocities they have been conducting. Plum Island, a secretive facility. Imagine an island just a stone's throw away from New York City, yet cloaked in secrecy for over half a century. Plum Island is a place few have seen up close, and even fewer understand. With a history as rocky as its shores, this 3-mile stretch of land has stirred imaginations and sparked rumors for decades. Located less than 2 miles from the northeastern tip of Long Island, Plum Island's origins are as ancient as they are intriguing. The island was formed thousands of years ago during the last ice age, when retreating glaciers deposited massive boulders and debris, creating a rugged terrain that would one day be home to one of America's most secretive government facilities. Yet, for most of its existence, Plum Island remained an unremarkable dot on the map until the 1950s. In the shadow of the Cold War, the U.S. government saw Plum Island's isolation as an asset. Far enough from the mainland to prevent the accidental spread of contagious diseases, yet close enough to the major hubs of New York and Washington, D.C., it was the perfect location for a new type of laboratory. Thus, in 1954, the Plum Island Animal Disease Center, PIADC, was born. Under the auspices of the U.S. Department of Agriculture, PIADC was established with a critical mission to study and contain infectious animal diseases that could devastate the nation's livestock. Foot and mouth disease, African swine fever, and other exotic pathogens were the primary focus. The goal was to protect America's agricultural economy, but the work was inherently dangerous. The island's isolation provided a safety buffer. If something went wrong, the surrounding waters of Long Island Sound would keep the mainland safe. Over the decades, Plum Island became synonymous with scientific rigor and secrecy. The research conducted here was vital, yet shrouded in mystery. Accessible only by ferry or helicopter, Plum Island remains off-limits to the general public. Even those with top-secret clearance need a special invitation to set foot on its shores. This level of secrecy has inevitably given rise to wild theories and conjecture. Some envision Plum Island as a wildlife sanctuary, a rare haven of untouched natural beauty in a densely populated region. Others, however, see its potential for development, sparking debates over the best use of this enigmatic land. What is certain is that Plum Island has captured the public's imagination like few other places. Rumors and dark history. Plum has long been the subject of dark rumors and unsettling tales. Shrouded in secrecy, it has captured the imagination of conspiracy theorists, locals, and even some scientists.
The laboratory was built out here over 60 years ago. We wanted to make sure when we built the lab that we're going to have any live virus.
Rumors have persisted for decades, suggesting that the government has conducted genetic experiments on animals, and perhaps even humans, on the island. The idea of secret experiments conjures images straight out of science fiction. Grotesque hybrids, failed genetic tests, and unnatural beings created in hidden laboratories. While such claims have never been substantiated, they gained a terrifying degree of possibility in July 2008, when something truly bizarre happened at Montauk Point, just a short distance from Plum Island. On a quiet summer day, beachgoers at Montauk Point discovered a creature unlike anything they had ever seen. It was a grotesque combination of animal parts, part dog, part rodent, part reptile, with the beak of a bird.
It makes people wonder, what tests are they actually doing here?
The creature, later dubbed the Montauk Monster, defied easy classification. Locals were accustomed to finding dead animals washed ashore, but this was different. The Montauk Monster's appearance sparked immediate speculation that it had somehow escaped or been released from nearby Plum Island. Animal experts were called in to examine the strange carcass, but even they were stumped. The creature's origins remained a mystery, and without definitive answers, the rumors linking it to Plum Island only grew stronger.
Any wild mammal that's seen on the island is killed on site so it doesn't catch anything on the island and take it ashore.
Was this a genetic experiment gone wrong? Had the government created something so unnatural that it couldn't survive outside the confines of the island? The strange sightings didn't stop there. Over the next few years, more odd creatures were reportedly found on nearby beaches, further fueling suspicions about what was really happening on Plum Island. These sightings, coupled with the island's history of secrecy, led many to believe that the government was conducting experiments far beyond the scope of animal disease research, possibly even involving human-animal hybrids. In 2010, the rumors took an even darker turn when a human-like body was discovered on the beach at Montauk Point. The body was almost human, but not quite. Its fingers were unusually large, and its skull bore drilled holes that suggested invasive experimentation. The discovery sent shockwaves through the community and reignited fears that Plum Island was hiding something far more sinister than anyone had imagined. America's secret biological warfare lab. The origins of Plum Island's dark history are rooted in the aftermath of World War II, during a time when the world's most powerful nations scrambled to harness the scientific knowledge of the defeated Axis powers. The United States, eager to gain an edge over the Soviet Union in the burgeoning Cold War, launched a covert program known as Operation Paperclip. The objective was to recruit top German scientists, engineers, and technicians, many of whom had worked on Hitler's most terrifying projects, including biological warfare. Among these recruits was Dr. Erich Traub, a virologist with a chilling past. During the war, Traub had been a key figure in Nazi Germany's biowarfare efforts, working directly under Heinrich Himmler, one of the most notorious leaders of the Third Reich. Traub's expertise was in the use of insects, particularly ticks, as vectors for disease. His work on Reims Island, where he developed methods to infect ticks with deadly pathogens, laid the groundwork for a new kind of warfare, one that could decimate armies without a single shot being fired.
Began landing Allied armies this morning on the northern coast of France.
Reims Island, located in the Baltic Sea, was home to the world's oldest virological research facility, initially established in 1910 to study foot and mouth disease.
If the vaccine really does protect animals from the virus.
Under Traub's direction, however, it became the epicenter of Nazi Germany's biological weapons program. Traub's experiments with ticks were particularly concerning. These tiny arachnids were nearly impossible to detect, resilient to harsh conditions, and capable of spreading disease directly to human hosts.
The tick is feeding on you and salivating, and so when you burn the tick, it salivates even more.
The potential to use ticks as bioweapons was clear, and Traub's work did not go unnoticed by the Allied powers. In 1948, after spending some time under Soviet control as part of Operation Osoaviakim, a Soviet effort to forcibly relocate German scientists, Traub was extracted by British intelligence and brought to the United States. He was soon working at Fort Detrick, Maryland, the hub of the U.S. biological warfare program. It was here that Traub's knowledge and experience would prove invaluable in the creation of a new facility modeled after his lab on Reims Island, Plum Island. Indeed, insiders who worked at Plum Island during its early years have since revealed that the facility's activities were not limited to studying animal diseases.
Secondly, the viral capsid or protein jacket must be broken.
Ticks, the very creatures that Traub had weaponized in Germany, were reportedly released outdoors on the island as part of experiments. These tests were carried out under the supervision of a mysterious figure known to some as the Nazi scientist, a chilling reminder of Traub's past. The potential consequences of these experiments were alarming. Plum Island is situated just a few miles off the coast of Long Island, and approximately 10 million people live within a 100-mile radius. The idea that deadly pathogens could be unleashed upon the mainland, whether through accident or design, caused widespread fear and anger among local residents. The U.S. government, for its part, sought to downplay these concerns. Officials insisted that Plum Island was not involved in bioweapons research and that the facility was secure from any potential leaks. However, these reassurances were met with skepticism. The government's history of secrecy and deception, particularly when it came to military and scientific endeavors, led many to believe that the truth was being concealed. Lyme disease, and the Plum Island. One of the most persistent theories surrounding Plum Island is its alleged connection to Lyme disease, a debilitating illness caused by bacteria transmitted through tick bites. If you haven't heard of Lyme disease, it's a pretty serious illness that's often tricky to diagnose, treat, and recover from. It's transmitted to humans through the bite of the black-legged tick, also known as the deer or bear tick.
Well, recent studies are giving new insight into why some Lyme disease patients suffer from long-term symptoms.
If left untreated, Lyme disease can lead to a host of severe symptoms, including facial drooping or paralysis, severe head and neck pain, joint swelling, nerve pain, dizziness, heart irregularities, fatigue, and shortness of breath. It can also cause neurological issues, leading to significant brain and nervous system problems. In 1975, an unusual outbreak of what was initially thought to be juvenile rheumatoid arthritis emerged in the towns of Lyme and Old Lyme, Connecticut. The culprit, however, was a bacterium named Borrelia burgdorferi, transmitted by tick bites, which led to the discovery of Lyme disease.
You don't want to squeeze the tick because that could cause it to regurgitate some of its stomach contents into the wound.
It's an eerie coincidence that this new disease emerged in towns named Lyme, but it turns out the disease wasn't named after these locations. Instead, Lyme disease got its name from this first recognized cluster of cases. Across the water from Lyme lies the mysterious Plum Island, home to a secretive government lab known for studying animal diseases. Given its history of bioweapons research, Plum Island became a natural suspect when Lyme disease was discovered. The possibility that disease-spreading insects, such as ticks, were experimented on here is not far-fetched. Ticks, already effective at spreading disease, could have been weaponized to disseminate Borrelia burgdorferi. While official connections between Plum Island and Lyme disease remain unproven, the idea of weaponized ticks escaping and causing an outbreak is chilling. Lyme disease, known for mimicking various other conditions, would make for a perfect biological weapon, evading detection, and overwhelming the medical community.
A virus hunter is a scientist who's looking for new strains of the pandemics we're living with.
In the years since its establishment, Plum Island has remained a focal point of controversy and conspiracy. The facility has undergone numerous upgrades and expansions, and its mission has apparently shifted toward more healthy purposes, such as protecting the U.S. food supply. However, the legacy of its early years and the shadowy figures like Eric Traub, who helped build it, continue to haunt its reputation. Uncovering the truth. The investigation into whether the U.S. Department of Defense experimented with ticks and other insects as biological weapons has stirred significant attention, raising questions about the origins of Lyme disease and the potential role of government research in its spread. The inquiry, prompted by a recently passed amendment in the U.S. House of Representatives, directs the Defense Department's Inspector General to examine whether any such experiments were conducted between 1950 and 1975. This investigation, spearheaded by New Jersey Congressman Chris Smith, could have profound implications for public health and governmental accountability. Smith's amendment was inspired by a growing body of literature that suggests U.S. government facilities, such as Fort Detrick in Maryland and Plum Island in New York, may have been involved in turning ticks and other insects into bioweapons. Fort Detrick, historically a center for biological warfare research, and Plum Island, known for its work on animal diseases, have long been subjects of speculation and conspiracy theories. The possibility that these facilities were involved in experiments that weaponized ticks raises chilling questions about the potential unintended consequences of such research. During the House debate, Smith raised crucial concerns. If true, what were the parameters of the program? Who ordered it? Was there any accidental release anywhere or at any time of any of the diseased ticks? These questions underscore the gravity of the situation. If the Defense Department did engage in such activities, the implications are far-reaching, not just for those directly involved, but for the millions of Americans affected by Lyme disease.
Since that time, thousands of new infections have been reported in the United States alone.
Oh, God.
Lyme disease has become a significant public health concern in the United States. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, Nearly 30,000 cases of Lyme disease are reported annually, although the actual number of infections is estimated to be much higher, with more than 300,000 people diagnosed each year. The disease can cause a wide range of symptoms, including fever, fatigue, joint pain, and in severe cases, neurological problems.
Lyme disease patients suffer from long-term symptoms.
It all has to do with an immune system marker that's found in the blood.
Its spread has been particularly pronounced in the northeastern and upper Midwestern regions of the country, areas that coincide with the locations of the aforementioned government facilities. In 2017, the CDC reported 42,743 confirmed and probable cases of Lyme disease, a 17% increase from the previous year. This surge in cases has fueled speculation about the origins of the disease and whether it could have been exacerbated by government experiments gone awry. The possibility that Lyme disease could have been weaponized and accidentally released into the environment is a disturbing thought, and it has led many to demand transparency and accountability from the government. If the Pentagon's investigation finds evidence that the Defense Department did indeed weaponize Lyme disease, the amendment calls for a comprehensive report on the scope of the experiment. This report would need to address whether the insects used in these experiments were released outside of any laboratory, either by accident or by design. Such findings could potentially reshape our understanding of Lyme disease and its origins, leading to new approaches to its prevention and treatment.
And people walking into their average doctor's offices may or may not be likely to get effective treatment for it.
Smith's advocacy for this investigation is part of his broader commitment to combating Lyme disease. He has also authored the Tick Act, a piece of legislation aimed at creating a holistic government strategy to fight Lyme disease. The Tick Act would authorize $180 million in funding to boost research, prevention, and treatment efforts. This initiative underscores the urgency of addressing the growing threat posed by tick-borne diseases and the need for a coordinated response at the federal level. The investigation into the potential weaponization of ticks and the origins of Lyme disease is a critical step in uncovering the truth. Whether or not these experiments occurred, the mere possibility that they did raises serious ethical and public health concerns. As Lyme disease continues to affect thousands of Americans each year, the public has a right to know whether their government played a role in its spread.
Our investigation concerns whether the antitrust laws have been violated, purposefully or not.
The outcome of this investigation could have lasting implications for how we approach the prevention and treatment of Lyme disease and how we hold our government accountable for its actions. The role of William Bergdorfer. William Willie Bergdorfer, a name now synonymous with Lyme disease, was a scientist whose work forever altered the landscape of biomedical science and public health. Bergdorfer's career was defined by his groundbreaking discovery of the bacterium Borrelia burgdorferi, the causative agent of Lyme disease. But his story is not just about a scientific discovery. It's also a tale intertwined with the darker aspects of Cold War-era military research and the persistent, unsettling questions that linger to this day. Born in Basel, Switzerland, in 1925, Bergdorfer had an accidental start to his career. A coin flip with a fellow graduate student determined the course of his professional life, leading him away from DDT campaigns against mosquitoes in Sardinia and into the world of medical entomology.
Lyme disease spirochete is far more virulent than Treponema pallidum.
This chance event brought him to the United States, where he would eventually become a globally recognized expert in the field of tick-borne diseases. His work at the National Institutes of Health's Rocky Mountain Laboratories, RML, in Hamilton, Montana, was both prolific and impactful, with over 200 peer-reviewed articles, chapters, and books to his name. Bergdorfer's most famous contribution came in 1981, 7 years after Lyme disease was first identified in Connecticut. At that time, the prevailing medical opinion was that Lyme disease was caused by a viral vector transmitted by ticks.
In 1981, I discovered the causative agent of Lyme disease.
However, Bergdorfer's meticulous research revealed that deer ticks were carriers of a previously unidentified spirochete, a type of corkscrew-shaped bacteria. This bacterium, which would later be named Borrelia burgdorferi in his honor, was the true culprit behind Lyme disease. His discovery was a watershed moment, providing the key to understanding a disease that was rapidly becoming a global public health issue. Bergdorfer's work didn't stop with Lyme disease. Throughout his 34-year career at RML, he also conducted significant research on other tick-borne diseases, such as Rocky Mountain spotted fever. His contributions to medical science earned him numerous accolades, including membership in the Swiss Academy of Medical Sciences, the Walter Reed Medal, and the Robert Koch Gold Medal. He was not only a distinguished scientist, but also a mentor and friend to many of his colleagues, including Dr. Tom Schwann, who worked closely with Bergdorfer for over 2 decades. Yet despite his celebrated career, there remains a shadow over Bergdorfer's legacy, a shadow cast by the murky world of Cold War-era biological warfare research. Before he died in 2014, Bergdorfer hinted at a disturbing possibility that the Lyme disease outbreak might have been the unintended consequence of a bioweapons experiment gone wrong. This revelation has further fueled conspiracy theories, suggesting that the US government's secretive research into biological weapons may have played a role in the emergence of Lyme disease,
and whether this led to the spread of Lyme disease in the US
as a public health crisis. Bergdorfer's involvement in military research is well documented. During his early years at RML, he participated in projects that involved growing and studying microbes inside ticks, research that was, at the time, part of broader efforts to understand and potentially exploit vector-borne diseases for military purposes. The use of insects as vectors for biological weapons was a chilling possibility during the Cold War, and scientists like Bergdorfer were at the forefront of this research. The full extent of his involvement in these projects remains unclear, and the details of what he may have discovered or witnessed have never been fully disclosed. In his later years, Bergdorfer became increasingly reserved about discussing his work on bioweapons. However, his cryptic comments about the origins of Lyme disease have led to ongoing speculation and concern. Did a bioweapons experiment accidentally unleash a new and virulent pathogen into the environment? Or was Bergdorfer merely alluding to the inherent risks of manipulating pathogens in the laboratory? The truth may never be known. Bergdorfer took many of his secrets to the grave, leaving behind a complex and enigmatic legacy. His contributions to science are undeniable, yet they are complexly linked to the darker aspects of 20th century history. Chris Newby's controversial theory. Chris Newby's book, Bitten: The Secret History of Lyme Disease and Biological Weapons, delves into a provocative and controversial theory about the origins of Lyme disease.
The size of the Lyme disease problem and to get good information on rapid diagnostics and treatment.
As a researcher from Stanford University and the senior producer of the documentary Under Our Skin, Newby's investigation into Lyme disease is both personal and professional. Her journey into this complex field began in 2002, when she and her family contracted Lyme disease during a vacation on Martha's Vineyard. This personal experience fueled her quest to understand the disease's origins and the broader implications of her findings. In Bitten, Newby explores a chilling connection between Lyme disease and Cold War-era biological warfare programs. She presents a theory that Lyme disease, which was first identified in Lyme, Connecticut in 1975, may have been linked to US biological weapons research. According to Newby, during the Cold War, the US military allegedly conducted experiments involving the release of infected ticks as part of a broader bioweapons program. These experiments reportedly included dropping infected ticks on Cuba and releasing aggressive, disease-carrying Lone Star ticks in Virginia along the Atlantic bird flyway. The intent was to see if these ticks could spread diseases to potential adversaries.
Weaponized ticks loaded with Lyme disease, for real.
However, this experiment, whether intentional or not, may have had unintended consequences, leading to the spread of Lyme disease in the US and beyond. Newby's research is based on interviews with prominent figures, including Dr. Willy Bergdorfer, a key figure in the study of Lyme disease. Bergdorfer, who discovered the bacterium Borrelia burgdorferi responsible for Lyme disease, expressed regret about the possible unintended consequences of his work. His reflections on the matter add a layer of complexity to Newby's narrative. suggesting that the scientific community might have underestimated the potential risks associated with their research. The significance of Newby's findings extends beyond historical intrigue. In her book and public speaking, she emphasizes the urgent need for improved diagnostic tests for Lyme disease and other tick-borne illnesses. Current diagnostic tests are often ineffective in the early stages of infection, leading to delays in treatment and, in some cases, chronic illness. Newby's battle with Lyme disease, spending over $60,000 and seeing 10 different doctors before getting a proper diagnosis, underscores the critical need for advancements in medical diagnostics and treatment protocols.
I guess my message to new Lyme patients is you can get better.
Newby's book is also a call to action for researchers and policymakers. She urges the medical community to consider co-infections and complications that may not be addressed by standard Lyme disease treatments. Her message to physicians is clear. If conventional treatments are not working, it's crucial to investigate possible co-infections that could be complicating the patient's condition. For researchers, Newby recommends reading Bitten to gain insights into the history of Lyme disease and its potential links to bioweapons research, information that is not typically covered in medical textbooks. Furthermore, Newby advocates for increased funding for research into tick-borne diseases and the development of more accurate and timely diagnostic tests. She argues that it is unacceptable that current tests often fail to detect Lyme disease within the first month of infection, a period during which effective treatment is crucial. Without better diagnostics and more research dollars, the challenge of managing and treating Lyme disease will persist. In the world of Lyme disease research, a heated debate rages between two factions. On one side, there's the belief in chronic Lyme disease, a concept championed by Lyme advocates and some so-called Lyme-literate doctors. They argue that Lyme disease can persist long after initial treatment, causing ongoing symptoms that aren't adequately addressed by standard medical practices. On the other side, mainstream medical academics refer to this condition as post-treatment Lyme disease syndrome, contending that these symptoms are often misdiagnosed and not necessarily related to Lyme disease itself. Adding fuel to the fire, some controversial figures, like the often cited but dismissed Newby, have claimed that ticks carrying Lyme disease were deliberately weaponized and subsequently released into the wild. This assertion has been widely dismissed as a conspiracy theory by prominent scientists, including Michael Osterholm, who argue that there is no credible evidence supporting such claims. The medical community remains divided, with fierce debates over whether the issue lies in overdiagnosing and overtreating Lyme disease or underdiagnosing and undertreating it. The future of bioweapons research. Officially, the Plum Island Animal Disease Research Center was established to protect the nation's livestock from foreign animal diseases. Government officials have consistently maintained that the facility's focus was on safeguarding agriculture by studying and combating diseases like foot and mouth disease. However, the island's secretive nature and unexplained phenomena have fueled persistent rumors of covert experiments and bioweapons research. For decades, Plum Island's isolation and restricted access created an atmosphere ripe for conspiracy theories. Many have questioned the government's assurances, pointing to unexplained discoveries and the facility's cloak and dagger operations as evidence of a hidden agenda. These theories have drawn parallels to other controversial government cover-ups, such as those involving UFOs and extraterrestrial life. The notion that something more sinister might have been taking place on Plum Island has captivated the public's imagination, leading to a persistent aura of fear and fascination. On September 11, 2005, the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, revealed plans to replace the Plum Island Animal Disease Research Center with a new high-security facility, the National Bio and Agro Defense Facility, NBAF, to be located in Manhattan, Kansas. The decision quickly became contentious. A cost analysis by DHS and its contractor, Booz Allen Hamilton, indicated that maintaining the existing facility or moving it would incur similar costs. Criticism of the project emerged, starting with a 2007 Government Accountability Office report that challenged DHS's assertion that Plum Island's work on foot and mouth disease could be conducted just as safely at the new facility, citing a lack of supporting evidence. A 2012 risk assessment by DHS deemed the Kansas site safe and secure, but this evaluation faced further scrutiny. The National Research Council's 2012 review labeled the risk assessment as seriously flawed. Despite the ongoing debate, construction of the NBAF advanced, and the transfer of Plum Island's laboratory contents to the new facility was expected to be completed by 2023. The move from the isolated island to a location within proximity to Kansas State University and the Meadowlark Hills retirement community has raised new concerns. Critics worry that the proximity to populated areas and institutions justifies fears about potential risks and the adequacy of safety measures. While the government has assured the public that the facility adheres to the highest standards of biosecurity, the move has done little to quell the lingering rumors about Plum Island's dark legacy. Some speculate that relocating the research to Kansas is an attempt to distance the government from the island's controversial past. The controversies surrounding both Plum Island and the NBAF highlight the critical need for transparency and public oversight in government operations, particularly in sensitive areas such as bioweapons research and animal disease management. As the NBAF begins its operations, the public must remain informed and vigilant, demanding accountability and rigorous safety measures to ensure that research and experimentation are conducted with the highest standards of safety and ethical responsibility. The legacy of Plum Island serves as a reminder of the importance of transparency in government research. As we move forward, the lessons learned from the controversies surrounding Plum Island should guide how we address and oversee bioweapons and disease research. It is essential to stay informed, advocate for strict safety protocols, and push for openness in facilities handling dangerous pathogens. Only through vigilance and accountability can we ensure that such facilities do not become breeding grounds for unaccountable experimentation and maintain the safety and trust of the public. As Congress delves into the disturbing revelations surrounding Plum Island's leaked bioweapon experiments, what steps should be taken to ensure full transparency and prevent similar incidents in the future? Let us know your opinion in the comments below.